You described yourself as an archival historian, and I know you were just like an hour ago at Hoover working with the archives, but I've never heard this phrase archival historian before. So what is an archival historian? What makes them distinct from other types of
Yeah,
historians?
it's a good question. And by the way, I describe myself as an archival historian, but much of this work, especially the genocide work, is not archival. But let me just say that, traditionally historians are trained and develop, and are able to create new knowledge, right? I mean, that's the idea. When you publish a book, you want to create new knowledge. Well, how do you create new knowledge? Well, one of the ways is to find new sources and fresh sources. And how do you find something that's fresh and new and lively and fun? And that is to go into archives. Otherwise, you're just ending up writing what other people have written, or you read their books and then you kind of regurgitate it on the page, which I have done as well, by the way. I mean, the World History of Genocide is not an archivally based book. It's based on other people's work, but also on published documents and memoirs and that kind of thing. There's a lot of interesting and fresh material in it, but it's not archival. But I was trained as an archival historian, which means, you go to archives, you carve out a little piece of the past, and you try to recreate it in a way that no one's done before. And that's one of the most exciting things about history, is to be able to do that. And archives have a special kind of quality to them, especially if you get to know them well and you know the institutions that the archives come from, that have a really exciting, you have an exciting ability to recreate the past, right? In ways that no one's done before. So for a number of my books, I've done that. And then the most recent book, actually, that I published, which was 2019 and just came out in paperback this year, is actually a book called Stalin and the Fate of Europe. And that's a series of case studies of Stalin's activities in Europe after the Second World War, Soviet policies in Europe after the Second World War. And for that book, then in almost every case, I went to the archives, or I used archival materials. In other words, that shed light in a new way on the particular subject I was dealing with, which was the political developments after the Second World War. If you take a book like Genocide of World History, which starts, from prehistory in the Bible, as you know, all the way up to the present, and you use other people's work and, published documents and memoirs and things like that, you put together the story, hopefully, in an interesting and lively and in some ways novel way, but it doesn't have quite the quality, of a true archivally based historical study, which, usually, as I say, creates fresh knowledge. I didn't create fresh knowledge in the book you read, The World History. What I did is tried to, write an interesting and important and a comprehensible story of genocide. But it's not archivally based, right? But that's the difference. So an archival history is, a historian is a person who goes in the archives and loves it. And I'm still that person. And that's why I still deal with these archive seminars at Hoover that we talked about, or that I talked to you about. But generally, I'm writing from, this new genocide book is also from secondary sources.